close the doors and everyone's going to have to leave. This is impolite. Is this on? It's on? Yeah, can you turn it up? It's on. On, it's loud, it goes. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, members of the City Council. My name is Jeff Pavlov. I represent Jason Fane and the Fane organization. Let me start off by thanking you tonight for your time and your attention and for giving us the opportunity to make this presentation. From a legal process perspective, we are here on our petition to amend the zoning ordinance. Part of that process does not include design review considerations, and it does not include considerations that are usually heard in connection with tax stabilization agreements. The touchstone legally is whether or not the proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan, zoning, and the D1 downtown district. We're going to put on a presentation tonight of a number of individuals. We are going to start with University of Rhode Island Distinguished Business Professor Ed Mazze. We'll talk about the economic impact of this project for Providence and for Rhode Island. After Professor Mazze, we will show a 4-minute and 17-second video which gives some architectural context to this proposal. Following the video, we will have Chief Architect Gianni Rettagliati from IBI Group, whose firm has done hundreds of towers, along with world-renowned architect Friedrich St. Florent. They will make some comments from an architectural perspective. You will then hear from our land use attorney, Bill Landry, partner with Blish and Kavanaugh, who will talk about our proposal and its consistency with the comprehensive plan and zoning in the D1 district. And finally, at cleanup, we'll hear from Jason Fane. So at this point, let me call up Professor Mazze. Professor Mazze has more than 50 years of experience as a business professor, consultant. He has more than 200 articles published, 12 books. He's been dean at URI, Temple, Seton Hall. Highly qualified individual. Professor also has prepared a report which the clerk is giving to you, and he will be talking about giving you an executive summary. Professor.
Thank you very much, members of the council. I want to talk a little bit about economic development. Again, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I'd like to talk a little bit about economic development and jobs.
Let the letter of the record reflect Councilman Igliozzi is present.
So noted.
Thank you. All right, as I said, I would like to talk about a number of topics. One, vertical density. Two, the creation of jobs. Three, the revenue that will be generated by this particular project. And lastly, what it means to Providence and Rhode Island. The entire gist of my talk is that Hope Point Tower is going to be a major economic benefit to Providence, Rhode Island, and it's going to be a catalyst for more economic development, and it's going to say that there are jobs available, and the state, which has a not too good record for business climate, this will help change the state's reputation. Let me talk a little bit about vertical density. The population of Providence is a little over 178,000 people. There's approximately 61,000 households, and the current housing stock is a little over 70,000 units. Most of the housing stock is over 40 years old. More importantly, Providence, as we know it today, is made up of about 25 different types of neighborhoods. This could add a 26th neighborhood, which would be just as diverse and important to Providence and the state. If you look at the current economic situation in Rhode Island and across the country, we're beginning to see, particularly in Rhode Island, companies coming with better earning jobs. One of the things we're trying to do at the universities is to keep our graduates in Rhode Island. So we've got to have jobs. If we don't have jobs for these graduates, they're not going to stay here. Better earning jobs make it critical for Providence to offer higher density, vertical, and environmentally friendly housing accessible to urban amenities. This is critical to both the short and long-term development of the city. Without housing, companies are not going to be looking at either coming to Rhode Island, coming to Providence, or growing their business. I've spent 26 years out of the last 50 years on corporate boards, and I can tell you from my own experience, when companies look for a location, they're looking at not only the tax environment, but they're also looking at education and housing. Also, the demand for high-density vertical housing is a result of changing demographics and changes in housing preferences. The Urban Land Institute, in a recent study, reported that 70% of people born between 1979 and 1996 want to live in walkable urban neighborhoods. Housing Works Rhode Island, in their most current study, which just came out last week, says that Providence would need between 18,227 and 19,310 new multi-family units, including apartments, condominiums, and townhouses by 2025. Let me repeat that because this is very important. Providence is going to need 18,227 to 19,310 new multi-family units, including apartments, condominiums, and townhouses. We're also going to need between 2,600 and 2,800 single-family housing units by 2025. Without those housing units, again, without those housing units, there will be no reason for people to come to Providence to live here. And that becomes very, very important. Now, of course, we know also that during the last couple of years, the amount of building permits given out in Providence for multi-family buildings and for single-family buildings are less than the fingers on both of my hands. So right now, Providence is in a position where there's very little multi-family units being built, and there are very little single-family units being built. The other thing that's important for you folks to understand is that right now, the vacancy rate in Providence is 3%. It's 3%. And I think that's very important. So there is definitely a market for Hope Point Tower. Now, in terms of generating tax and license revenue for Providence, Appleseed, which did an earlier study on this project, said that the project would generate $12.7 million in non-property taxes and fees during the construction period. $12.7 million. Over the life of this project, it could generate well in excess of $250 million in property taxes over the first 40 years. And a building of this type could easily go 100 years, and the number would be extraordinary. We're talking about $300 million. Think of what that would do for the city of Providence, the unfunded pension and health benefit program, as well as the services that the city could give. Now, the retailers and restaurants that will be occupying the commercial space in the whole Fane Tower will also generate between $250,000 and $500,000 annually in state sales tax, state personal income tax, state business corporation taxes, as well as license fees. But let's get down to the very basics in terms of the creation of jobs. At the end of the day, we need jobs. We need jobs for the people who live in Providence. We need jobs for the people who want to come to Providence and spend their money. During the construction period, using the Appleseed in-plan model, which I've used in other studies, this project will generate 1,500 direct and indirect jobs. That is during the construction. Other models show, on average, for every $1 million spent on construction, Mr. Fane is planning $300 million. For every $1 million spent on construction, 9.5 total jobs are supported. 4.4 direct construction jobs and 5.1 jobs for indirect and diffuse activities. If you use that model, we're talking well in excess of 1,500 jobs. Other models show that for every 100 direct construction jobs, 83 new jobs are created. Now, these jobs are going to generate in excess of $85.7 million of wages during the construction period, and those wages will be circulated back into the economy. That's where people spend their money. The construction jobs pay higher than the median salaries, not only in Providence, but in Rhode Island. Now, these construction jobs, some people believe they're temporary, because after the project is over, people feel that these jobs disappear. They don't disappear. These construction workers go on and work on other construction jobs. And if you don't have these workers, other construction jobs cannot take place. So we're caught in a situation, quite frankly, where people who look at construction jobs as temporary, that's a very short-term view. Also, when you look at the jobs that are being created after the building is completed, in the operation, the maintenance, and in the commercial space that will include retailers and restaurants. This project is going to be a real catalyst for Providence. Local businesses, and Rhode Island is a state of small businesses, local businesses are going to benefit. They're going to be serving both on the construction side, the ongoing operation. The new retail businesses will be created. They will be hiring people. People living at the Fane Tower may be the next generation of entrepreneurs and business and government leaders. Let me summarize very simply why this project is really important to the city. First of all, it's going to make the downtown Providence economy stronger. Second, it's going to make Providence more vibrant. And thirdly, it's going to be a positive addition to the housing stock in the city. Thank you very much for your patience and for listening to me. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. I've written a report that goes over the same data. The only thing that is updated is the new information from the Housing Works report that came out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. But we won't be taking questions. It's basically the heavy part of it is to have public exercise their right to be heard on one side or the other. But the committee meeting of the ordinance committee is a little different. We can take different testimony at that time. Thank you, though.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, we have a brief 4-minute and 17-second video. It's narrated by Saul Wassermule and Gianni Rettagliati from IBI Group Architects, and it gives the architectural context for this project, which is that from time to time, to get to the next level, cities need an injection of energy in the form of capital and people. And so why don't we roll that video?
Madam Clerk, can we please enter this report as an exhibit?
So noted.
When Gianni and I first walked the downtown area, we were actually quite impressed with the historic nature of the downtown. We also realized that living organisms, which cities are, need injections of energy in order for them to thrive, to survive and thrive. We felt that Providence was a cross point where that kind of injection of energy is required to allow it to thrive.
I believe that Providence is waiting for stepping into the next century. When I visited Providence the first time, I really appreciated how Providence was able to keep the heritage district intact downtown. The scale, the technology of the building is being kept pristine. But every city, like a living organism, needs to grow, needs to be energized, and needs to be fed with new activities in order to progress to the next level.
Toronto happens to be a city that has actually been very successful in addressing some of the concerns that we see in growing North American cities. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why we're sought after to come up with city building solutions that we've had the experience in Toronto that we can apply in other locations.
The reality of the city is, in terms of the growth that we're experiencing like nowhere before, I believe it's forcing us into higher density, and in order to create a city of the future that is efficient, that is green, that doesn't rely on the car as much as we do today, I think we have to confront the fact that some changes, including the height, is a necessary change that we have to confront ourselves.
Now, there's a great quote from Winston Churchill, which says, quote, "First we shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us." Unquote. So it recognizes that when we build a building or design a building, we must see that building in its context and how it's going to affect people who use the building, who live in the community of that building, and the greater city. The design for Fane Tower is unique in that it is flowing, it's organic, it's sensuous. in a way, and it's unstructured, and it's unlimited to conventional engineering structural principles, and I think that's what gives it its unique sculptural quality. Seen from different locations, the building will evolve and seem completely different from one location to another. And I think that's going to give it its sculptural qualities.
I believe the game is a continuation of the modern scene. It's a new Providence, and it's a catalyst. It's a catalyst that is going to spark interest in this surrounding area, and it's going to connect the special location, is going to connect the old downtown core to the future development and the future expansion of Providence. And in fact, the location itself is sitting in the corner of a very prominent street intersection, which is highlighted and designed to bring that emphasis of Providence as a focal point.
I've designed and built hundreds of projects in my career, and I'm very excited about Fane Tower. We see a tremendous opportunity. We think it will become an iconic symbol for what is happening in the innovation district convention context of Providence.
Gianni Rettagliati from IBI Group, the architects. His firm and he have designed hundreds of tall buildings. He will also introduce world-renowned architect St. Florent.
Mr. Chair, member of the committee, good evening. My name is Gianni Rettagliati. I'm a director of design for the IBI Group. IBI is a multidisciplinary group, including architecture, planning, urban design, and engineering, with a global presence counting more than 70 offices. My group in particular is responsible for the design of more than 10,000 units every year. During the last 10 years, we developed an extensive experience in designing high-rise, mixed-use residential building, very similar to the Fane Tower. We've been working with the Fane organization for many years now, and we recently completed a 47-story tower in downtown Toronto. Extremely successful building, was sold out within months. In my opinion, Mr. Fane is not just another developer, Mr. Fane is a builder. He believes in the product, he takes great pride in making projects like this happen, and he stands behind this product. Mr. Fane came to IBI a few years ago, and he proposed a dream, he proposed a concept for Providence. It was a bold vision that we translated in the proposal in front of you tonight. In the recent past, we had several opportunities to introduce this proposal to the public and to the Planning Commission. And there was extensive press coverage, some of it positive, some of it less flattering. The issue of design and aesthetic is a very personal issue, and we have to respect individual taste. However, the most controversial aspect of the proposal was the building height. So why this building needs to be so high? Why is it so critical to achieve this height? Well, in our experience, in my experience, there's a critical mass that makes a project like this viable financially and in the market. Too much density, and you're going to have part of the building unoccupied. Too little density, the construction cost will override the success. So there is a right balance. We believe that this proposal, based on our experience, can achieve the right balance. So how do we put density on the site? In our experience, there's a way to do it, which is horizontal. This site in particular is 500-foot frontage, and we can have a slab building. We refer to a slab building. It could be, let's say, 15 to 18 story, double-loaded corridors. Some of the units in this case will face the park. Some of the units will be faced most likely with future development future development that actually is already happening with the Wexford site. So most likely, people who are moving in a condo, they are looking for views. From experience is one, location of course, like a real estate agent will say the location is a prime concern, but views is a very close second concern. So if indeed we're going to extend this wall, 18-story long, 500-foot long, you're going to have 50% of your product facing the park, great views. The other 50% would be most likely blocked. So you're going to have really hard sale for those units. Not to mention that the wall, 500-foot long, will cast continuous shadow for a longer period of time. So what's the alternative? The alternative would be vertical. A very thin, elegant tower that would allow every single unit in the building to have views. The first level of residential unit will be on the 7th floor. And they will clear the Wexford development just across the street. The other advantage of a point tower, indeed, it will cast longer shadows, but will pass much faster. So it will last less than a slab building. So who moves into the condo? There was the other why would be attracting. In our experience, there are different individuals who are interested for different reasons in living in the condominium. The empty nester couple, the kids are gone. They travel extensively. They spend months out. Security is a concern. They sell their house, they move in the condo. The condo can offer amenities and security like not many other buildings in town. So they certainly look for a very specific unit size, a very specific location, and outdoor space. The second, in my experience, the second group are investors. Investors are not going to be necessarily living here, they're looking for an investment. So the unit size varies from 500 to 700 square feet, and that's certainly a component that this building will take care of design. The end user is the third component. The end user, we've seen based on our experience, varies. The adjacent to the university suggests that indeed a 2-bedroom unit can be shared by 2 students for the long period of time. In the end of 4 to 5 years undergrad courses, instead of renting, they are going to be paying basically mortgage. So you have an asset at the end of it. So it's something that we see more and more, especially in the city where university campus are very active. So the advantage of a condo, it's also certainly location, use, outdoor space, amenities, and modern purchasers wants to live in a way that allows them to live, work, and play within few blocks. Commuting is becoming a problem more and more. Millennials don't drive as much as we do. They really want to work, and a lot of people work from home. So the amount of amenity these buildings are providing is considerable compared to the past. Boardroom for rent, office space, outdoor amenity, that's something that is very common in today. So I'm going to show you the extent we go in providing this kind of amenity at a very, very high elevation. This is the building we completed for the Fane organization in Toronto. It's a 47-story in Midtown Toronto. The building has been designed specifically to avoid adjacency to towers. We have within 100 feet, we have higher tower than us. The building is being organized and designed in such a way that we can have oblique views in between the building. In particular, halfway to the building, we created this projection. It's a 2-story amenity space, which is extremely special. And this is one of the components that is the most used space in the building. Again, smaller unit. They want to have a party, they want to have, they invite friends. That's an amazing opportunity, and this is an amazing space that people can rent. And the view is not so the midtown, and it's miles away from the lake, and still you can fully appreciate the view all around. This is Concordadex. These are all buildings by my firm. This is Concordadex again. tall buildings, unobstructed views, 360 degrees. Bridge. The bridge is indeed proposing the top floor, actually a private suite, penthouse suite, used both through the downtown and to the lake. The lower portion is amenity. Amenity space, which includes a gym, all kinds of amenities, party room, and again, one of the most sought spaces on the Guinea. Building to the left, in India, it's a combination of office, residential, and health. In fact, we went to the great extent to terrace the building, and every one of those terraces is housing outdoor activities for the use of the tenants. Whether they go in the office, whether they are into the residential component, they have common use of all those terraces. The right is a building I recently completed in Toronto as well. We're on top of a 6-story podium, not unlike the Fane Tower proposal. And again, extensive use of outdoor space. There's actually a pool, and the views are spectacular from this location. This is in Dubai. Again, the building is being articulated to create oases. Every floor, so again, is a combination of hotel, residential, and office components. Heavy terracing. Every terrace creates a garden. The garden is going to be used for community space. So this is pretty much what recent design was this mixed-use residential building. Again, a lot of people are going to work, live, and play in this neighborhood. So all these programs create an amount of height and density that is critical for the success of the Let me just take you back to Providence right now. I think everybody is familiar with the location of the site. From an architectural point of view, it's a transit right at the doorstep, next to the airport, walking distance to the downtown area, walking distance to the university, Brown University. It's absolutely a perfect location for a residential building. We're zooming into the area. The location of the site is right in the intersection of Dorrance and Dyer. It's about 0.88 acres. We're looking at the northern portion of the site for the location of the tower. And again, this is the location of the corner was specifically selected as a focal point at the end of Dorrance Street, and it's going also to symbolize the gateway. The site plan is showing the extent of the podium. It's a 6-story podium housing retail on the ground floor, above grade parking, and once you clear the podium, the superstructure of the tower comes into place up to 46 stories. The tower is being placed strategically in the corner, is taking advantage of the wedge shape of the site, creates a very interesting and dramatic shape once it's extruded in vertical inspection. Ground floor. The ground floor, there was concern about animation on the street. 75% of the frontage is animated. We do have to have the back of the house facility. We have to have the entrance to the parking. Everything is being tucked away from public rail off Dorrance Street. So most of the retail frontages are right onto the street, creating 24 hours right on the eyes of the street. We're suggesting a widening of the sidewalk, boulevard condition according to some of the recent guidelines. And again, the way the building is designed around the edges, very much with intent of creating a pleasant pedestrian environment. Typical floor of the podium, above grade parking is a necessary evil. Again, it's one of the components that makes this building viable. The parking is certainly reduced compared to what we used to have in terms of parking ratio. Introduction of, for example, car sharing is something we've been very successful with. Tenants, even if they don't own a car, they can rent a car during the weekend, and that's something that all over the world actually has been extremely successful. That allows us to reduce the amount of cars, and still providing, if needed, use of a car for the tenants. Once we clear the podium, this is the rooftop of the podium, the first residential floor. It's actually the first residential floor is totally dedicated to amenity and office space for the use of the purchaser. We have in excess of 10,000 square feet of outdoor space, and not unlike the picture you've seen before, we are planning to have a rooftop terrace with all kinds of outdoor amenities for the use of the tenants. As well, for amenity space, connection with the outside, we didn't develop the full program yet, but those are the sizes of the program that can support the population that we expect. A typical floor, approximately 12,000 square feet. The building is very simple. We heard that we designed for the top 1%. It's not true. We have enough experience to design this building to be financially viable. What we do, though, we create flexibility in the structure. The three components, the three potential purchasers that I mentioned before, they require different unit sizes. This floor plate and this type of structure will allow us to combine units to reduce sizes as we go up the building. So a third of the building could be designed for a specific unit type, a third or maybe a larger size, and the top floor for even more larger sizes that will suit, for example, the empty nest. So it's been totally proven we can design a building economically and create flexibility needed to address the market demand. This is a typical cross-section along Dyer Street. To the right is the Wexford building, it's about 6-story, and to the right is our proposal. The tower doesn't come down to the ground. There is a recess of the 6th floor. The 6th floor is addressing the same height as the Wexford, creating a consistent wall, pedestrian wall, and street edge along Dyer Street. We're suggesting that there's going to be an increase in the width of the street, allowing for pedestrian walkways, canopies, trees, a typical boulevard condition. The retail is certainly an additional height, allowing for a mezzanine level. And the parking level are not going to be very visible because we're going to treat the architecture in such a way that it's not going to read like a operate parking, it's going to read like a residential building. This is a perspective, it's a rendering of what this podium could look like. Again, it's not been designed in detail. There has been a lot of discussion with city staff. This is something that is just a diagram and massing for your consideration. It's not, the podium is still, it's very critical for the success of the building. So we're still designing, but the massing and the relationship to the Wexford is very much depicted in this picture. So as a pedestrian, you're not going to perceive the superstructure, you're going to perceive the free wall at about 640, which is very much in keeping with the architecture of the Wexford across the street. Inspiration, where is the building coming from? We're looking at modern architecture, contemporary, we're looking about organic, when we start looking at the river, how the river carves stone, we took inspiration from that. We excluded, again, black and white image, but it gives you the idea of that river carving stone is being reproposed in the architecture of the building, especially in the front elevation. You can see how that pattern with the balcony, feminism that bring back the idea of the river. So it's a very harmonious building, organic. I think it's a timeless architecture, not following any particular style that is going to certainly fade away in a few years. We believe that this is going to basically, it's going to last a long time, and it's going to look as good as the And we put in, what's the meaning of the height? We put in the context just next to some of the most prominent building in Providence. So the Industrial Nation Act, one financial plaza, and the rest of the Providence. So once you put it next to this building, again I'm responding to some of the comment in the press about the height. Maybe it doesn't look out of context at all. Again, it's a new Providence, it's a new massing, it's a new type of building. This is a rendering of what the building may look like. This is coming from the south and looking towards downtown. You can see to the left the building, the building. It's next to the Wexford component. You can see how the massing on the podium relates to the Wexford sign. And again, the shaft of the building, if you look within this context, maybe it's not as out of place. Different view, perspective view now from downtown, looking out, again, context of a building within the skyline of the Providence downtown. Another perspective, again, trying to put building into the context. And this is my last slide. Again, the building, I think we had the opportunity to hear before, even from the video, how we achieved this form. I tried to certainly explain how we reach this height, this density. We believe that this is the right balance. We believe it's going to be a very successful building based on our experience, and we're seeking your support. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, world-renowned architect Friedrich St. Florent, who was responsible for designing the World War II Memorial on the Washington Mall. He also played a key role in the Providence Place Mall. He has received numerous international awards for architecture. Mr. St. Florent?
Excuse me, whoa. You can't ask questions until you've signed up and you're recognized by the chair. I think I set the rules out earlier, perhaps you were late. Jeff, is this a member of your group? Okay. This will be the final witness?
No, we have our land use attorney and then Mr. Fane.
Okay, we're using a lot of time, or I said 30 minutes. We're getting there.
We're trying to make sense of it. We're trying to do this project. I will ask all of our witnesses to really condense their comments.
If you would, because I want to hear from the public. I think the rest of the members want to too.
Thank you.
Okay. There's no objection to have the PowerPoint and the video entered as an exhibit to the record. Mr. Padwell will provide that, so that's done. You can proceed.
Members of the City Council's Ordinance Committee, good evening. I am an architect, educator, and citizen of Providence since 1963. My involvement in our city's efforts to define a new and meaningful post-industrial identity is well documented. I am an ardent supporter of Mr. Fane's idea to propose a high-rise tower at this particular site for the following reasons. Although Providence positioned itself as a player in the rebirth of mid-sized former industrial cities by relocating its railroad tracks, its rivers, and the I-195 highway, thus creating a new footprint for the downtown area. There was not enough meaningful residential development to date. The I-195 relocation created a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to allow our city core to grow again with new developments that will assist immensely in bringing prosperity back to our city. It is a well-known fact that mid-sized cities, university cities in particular, offer a superior quality of life than metropolitan megacities. Providence has most assets in place, a splendid geographic location, nationally and internationally renowned colleges and universities, cultural amenities, fine restaurants, teaching hospitals, walkability, lately assisted by bicycles and scooters. But in order to compete successfully, we must make an all-out effort to grow again, have affluent people live in downtown again. These adults will join the college population that study and live in downtown and together contribute to the vitality of our city core. Mr. Fane's Tower will surely promote that much needed growth. Regarding the unfortunate polarization of opinions regarding the tower proposal, I would like to clarify one critical and fundamental issue. Zoning ordinances are indeed useful planning tools to safeguard public interests as envisioned at a particular time for a foreseeable future. But they are not cast in stone. They are scaffoldings to protect public interests until unexpected circumstances, such as the relocation of I-195, open entirely new horizons, change the landscape, and warrant revisions. Finally, I would like to speak to you, members of the City Council, humbly and with all due respect regarding your responsibilities. Of course, you are expected to represent the opinions and visions of your constituencies. But there are moments when your decisions must be reflective, where the issue not only affects your ward, but the entire city, actually all of Rhode Island. The decision to allow a highly respected developer to invest in our city actually become a catalyst for the much needed rehabilitation of our beloved city core may very well ignite a new renaissance. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, we'd like to submit that for the record so that you have there.
No objection.
Now I'd like to call up our land use attorney, Bill Landry, partner with the law firm of Blish & Kavanaugh, who will talk to you about how our proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan zoning ordinance in the downtown district. Bill?
Is this the last witness? Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, honorable members of the committee. William Landry, partner with the firm of Blish & Kavanaugh, 30 Exchange Paris here in Providence, Land Use Council of Oak Point. Fundamentally, the foundation and framework of the work that the committee has before it involves a few core legal standards or principles. And in all the things that have been said about this project by so many individuals, we believe that those core legal standards have been clouded and confused. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes and put them on the table and in a very concise way clarify. Legal issue number one, although we've had a stellar presentation by our project architects, and we feel they've worked up a very suitable design. It is a design in progress. No part of the petition before the committee or the council in this matter involves or requires either to delve into the specific design of the building. Lots of people have a lot of opinions, and that will continue, but our petition does not request approval of a particular design. The ultimate final design of the building will be decided through a very detailed process, a very public process, through the city's own downtown design review commission, the DDRC, and that will occur not as part of this proceeding, but as part of the overall approval of the project. Legal issue number 2, we've heard a lot of loose discussions over the past few months about the issue of spot zoning. No part of this petition involves spot zoning. The term spot zoning has evolved in a very dramatic way since the onset of the Comprehensive Community Planning Act in the late 80s and the early 90s. That was the basis for all current zoning in Rhode Island. We became a comprehensive plan state, and the definition of spot zoning shifted from zoning that's consistent with a comprehensive plan, that's bad spot zoning, to zoning that is consistent with the comprehensive plan. That's good zoning. There's nothing wrong today under modern zoning law that prohibits one or more parcels from being treated differently in terms of overall zoning. Bottom line is whether it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. We filed legal memoranda to that effect with the Planning Commission. Their attorney, Kelly Morris, herself a very seasoned land use attorney, concurred that that is the definition of spot zoning. This is good spot zoning because it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. The last 2 legal issues I'll take together. They're the most important. There are 2 findings that the council ultimately is required to make here. One is that the proposal is indeed consistent with the comprehensive plan. Second is that the proposal is consistent with the purposes of zoning, particularly the defined purposes of the D1 zoning district in which this proposal is proposed to be erected. In its advisory recommendation, staff report to the City Plan Commission, the senior staff of the Planning Department found that both of these factors were satisfied with respect to the proposal. And I quote, "It is clear that the comprehensive plan supports dense residential development. It also supports tall buildings in downtown, leaving the decision of the location and regulation of height districts to the future planning process and the discretion of the City Council. The petition is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The petition is also consistent with the purposes of zoning, since it would provide for a dense, mixed-use building in downtown, an area intended to accommodate this type of development." 1 or 2 minutes I have remaining. I'd like to just point out from the city's own comprehensive plan, the aspirations which were based in part the Planning Department's recommendation and that demonstrate the consistency of this proposal with the comp plan. Begin with, the comp plan does not set height limits on buildings. There's no height limit in the comp plan. Rather, that's delegated to the council to establish height sub-districts. And the first criteria that the comp plan recites as a consideration for height sub-district locations is economic development. The comp plan speaks directly about parcels like this one that don't come along except once every several decades, where you've got an undeveloped piece of property that comes without its own zoning pedigree. With respect to the Route 195 redevelopment district, the comprehensive plan says, and I'm quoting, "Relocating Interstate 195 has opened approximately 40 acres for redevelopment. This is an unusual opportunity for an older, built-out city to significantly add to its downtown. Also quoting from the comprehensive plan, business, jobs, and economic development element, it describes this as an opportunity to implement the overarching goal of growing the local economy. That element states as a strategy of the city, quote, to evaluate and identify areas where increased height limits may be appropriate. And to land use element adopts as a strategy to identify areas that could support taller buildings and amend land use regulations to allow for greater height in those areas. The property, this precise parcel, is identified on the future land use map of the city as downtown mixed use. That's defined in this area as truly mixed use area where urban life and vitality are the heart, with residential, retail, office, civic, institutional, and entertainment uses jumbled together. And this is the important part. The comprehensive plan says mixing uses in these areas creates desirable places to live by improving the balance of jobs to housing and creating healthy neighborhoods where residents can walk to shops and services. And then it says it is in these mixed use areas that nodes of concentrated development could be established to link future development to transit hubs. In these nodes, greater residential density and building heights could be accommodated to create a more efficient pattern of development and protect the character of residential neighborhoods. These aspirations are repeated over and over in different elements of the comprehensive plan, including the housing element, because it sounds so much like what I've just read. I won't take the time to actually read those sections. That's the comprehensive plan consistency. The issue of consistency with the purposes of zoning, including the D1 district, are also clearly spelled out in the zoning ordinance itself. The purpose of the D1 district is for development that encourages day and nighttime activities that relate to the pedestrian and promote the arts, entertainment, and housing, all the goals of the comprehensive plan. And when it comes to height, the zoning ordinance registers a preference for three things, all of which are encompassed by this proposal. One is it encourages active pedestrian scale ground floor uses, which the zoning ordinance says can include publicly accessible areas of restaurants, retail, cultural, or entertainment facilities that promote pedestrian activity and commerce in downtown. This is how Hope Tower was designed at the street level. The second thing is project siting and design that permit and provide for public access to adjacent public areas. Hope Point will permit access to the public park along the river, participate in its maintenance, and the pedestrian bridge over it. Since the beginning of the project, 50-foot wide swath was designed to accommodate the city walk that will link 9 different Providence neighborhoods with neighborhoods downtown and further south. This project is a focal connection point for that city walk, right over the river and through the middle of this project in a very deliberate and protected way. Finally, there are 6 view corridors in the zoning ordinance that the ordinance wants to have protected, all in the general area surrounding the Hope Point proposal. This design has been structured in a way that respects all 6 of those proposed of those few corridors that have been set aside for protection. Finally, the whole point, one of the core aspirations of the zoning ordinance for development in the D1 zone, could have the next couple of slides. The project's right dead in the middle of this slide. This aspiration is to protect historic structures from either destruction or impairment as a part of new development. This slide shows all of the properties on the state historic protection guide list. And as you can see, the whole point site in the middle is several hundred feet from any of them. Go to the next slide, please. This slide also shows the whole point site right in the middle. And these are all the properties that are on the National Register of Historic Places. Again, hundreds and hundreds of feet away from the site. And it's no surprise, because our site was a protected highway right-of-way for decades. There was nothing in back of it. There is nothing in back of it to block. There's nothing in front of it to overshadow. It's uniquely situated in the once-in-a-lifetime areas that would, in our opinion, this would be, there's no other parcel that we're aware of in the city that could deliver such a dramatic economic lift to the city in a way that's consistent with the comp plan, in a way that's consistent with the purposes of zoning, and that has such a benign impact, no impact, on any surrounding historic districts. So to summarize, design is an issue for another day. This is not spot zoning because it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. And finally, the proposal satisfies the two criteria that the zoning, that the city council and the committee had before it. One, consistency with the comprehensive plan. Two, consistency with the purposes of zoning, particularly the purposes of the
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All witnesses you got, you could be the patriot to so many players in this thing.
Mr. Chairman, our last witness is Jason Fane.
Chairman Hassett and members of the City Council. I came to Providence to build an iconic luxury residential tower in the heart of the Innovation District. If the City Council approves our zoning application, the tower would provide 4 important benefits to Providence and Rhode Island, and they are housing, taxes, jobs, and economic growth. And in addition, there is an important symbolic value. The tower will demonstrate Providence's commitment to a new level of economic success and help draw the creative, imaginative workers who stimulate intellectual, cultural development, and prosperity. And I'm going to speak very briefly on the 4 areas, trying not to repeat what other speakers have already covered. The first is the housing, and there is a serious need for more quality housing in Providence. You heard Professor Mazze explain how over 18,000 units are needed by 2025. And the simple fact is that many people will want to live in the Hope Point Tower. Providence is fortunate to already have many of the conditions for attracting the innovative businesses of the future, but it is less than competitive in providing the luxury housing that these workers want. The tower has been designed has 3 different sections, one above another, with separate lobbies and elevators and different sized apartments. Overall, the apartments get larger and have better finishes as one goes from bottom to top. This means that some apartments will be affordable by a broad section of working people in Providence, and including a wide range of ages and lifestyles. Taxes. Once completed, the tower is estimated to generate $70 million of property taxes over its first 20 years, and expected to yield about $250 million in property taxes in its first 40 years. But the building will stand for much longer than that, and over its lifetime will generate hundreds of millions of additional dollars of property taxes, other taxes, fines, and fees. You heard Professor Mazze talk about jobs, but I would like to concentrate on an area that I think he underrepresented, and that those are the continuing jobs, the jobs after construction. And there are several different categories of these that will sound familiar once I recite them. There's the building staff, which people think of first. Then there are the other people who work on the building, but are not on the regular staff. These include the maintenance contractors, such as the elevator repair people, or the people who inspect the fire alarm systems. And there are the outside professionals, like accountants or interior designers. Then there are the people hired by residents, such as movers, housekeepers, babysitters, tutors, decorators, and those who make and sell everything that they bring into their apartment. Don't forget the people who provide goods and services that the residents use outside the building. And here you've got the restaurant workers, medical services, schools, taxi drivers, retail workers, and many, many others. And finally, there's another important group that comes because the average home is sold every 7 years. So this provides employment for real estate brokers, lawyers, mortgage lenders, movers, and others. The fourth point is economic growth. Hope Tower will create the spillover effects for the economy. Okay, I want to skip the part that Professor Mazze covered. So basically you have 4 good planning reasons to approve the tower: housing, taxes, jobs, and economic growth. I have great faith in Providence. Oh, thank you. The city and state are now on the upswing, and I think this will continue. Much credit should be given to the state and city governments for their economic development initiatives, and I encourage them to continue these policies. My belief in Providence and in this project is demonstrated by my actions. I plan $300 million of personal money, investments, and loans to this development. This is an important project that will be a symbol to the world that Providence is saying yes to a bold and prosperous future, and that both the city and the state are open for business. At this meeting, the architect presented new renderings that respond to the concerns we have heard during the review process. They show the tower is only a little taller than the other major downtown buildings and blends in with the overall downtown. Can we have that slide? And that's the point of this, that you see the tower in context. I think it's a great addition to the downtown, and I hope that you will all agree with this. So you see the tower as it will be on the skyline, and a symbol of Providence that says this is where innovation happens. I'm ready to move forward, but the tower needs the City Council to approve our zoning request so the project can start and move-ins can be in the summer of 2022. Thank you for your attention and patience.
Thank you.